Hi, I'm Kath from Veg Patch Kitchen Cookery School, and today I want to show you what a bread dough looks like when it's mixed and the consistency of that dough. When people come here on a bread course, they almost always have an aha moment at some point during the course where they realise what they've been doing wrong all of this time whenever they've made bread. And the most common of those aha moments is when we first mix a dough and they suddenly realise and they go, I've never made a dough that's been this wet or this sticky before. It's always been too dry. And that's the most common problem that I actually see on our Bread Basics course. If you follow the recipe exactly and add 500 grams of flour and dead on 325 grams of water, which is what most recipes recommend, then it might be that it just mixes too dry because your flour needs just a little bit more water. So I'm going to show you how I mix my dough, some techniques for that, and how to feel the dough with your hand and add water as you see fit. And I'll show you what the proper consistency for a simple white dough should look like, okay? And this is a dough that can be easily shaped for a tin or for as a bloomer or to put into a proofing basket. So in this bowl I've got the ingredients for a simple white loaf. I've got 500 grams of strong white bread flour. I've got 9 grams of salt. Now you can go anywhere between 5 and 10 grams of salt for something that's 500 grams. And I've got 4 grams of easy bake yeast. Now you can go and just use a sachet of easy bake yeast, which is normally 7 grams. You can use half of that sachet, or you can use a third of that sachet. The less yeast you use, the slower your dough will rise and the better the end result will be actually. If you use too much yeast, it rises too quickly and you don't develop the flavour that the dough has the potential for. So the less yeast you use, the better. Today I'm using 4 grams of easy bake, or otherwise known as instant. If you're using fresh, you can use 10 grams of fresh yeast. And if you're using active dried, then you can use 5 grams of active dried. Just make sure that you mix it in with a little bit of water first before you add it to the flour. It needs hydrating before you pop it in. Whereas this instant yeast, you just pop it straight into the flour. Okay, so I'm going to mix those up. Now I kept the salt and the yeast on separate sides of the bowl so that they didn't come into contact. And I've got some scales here set to 0, and I have some warm water here. Okay, so it's not hot water because hot water will kill yeast. It's just warm. And first of all, I'm going to measure in 300 grams of water. Water weighs the same in millilitres as it does with grams, so you don't have to change the scales when you've measured your flour and your salt and your yeast. So 300 grams. Most recipes will tell you that you need 325 grams of water to 500 grams of flour. Now the reason I only put 300 grams in is that I then start to mix it and I feel what the dough feels like and I splash in more as I think I need it. And that's really important for a baker to do because every bag of flour can actually be different. So if you're buying the same brand week on week, it might be that they're using different flour from a different country or a different variety of flour, of grain. If you're using different brands, that could be from a different country. That will all make a difference to the absorbency of the flour and how it absorbs the water. So I start with 300 grams of water, take the scales away, use my hand as if it's a claw, and I begin to mix. Now you can see that at the moment it's very dry. So I know that I'm going to need more water, and I might need another 50 grams of water. I might just need another 20 grams of water. Okay, so what we're going to do is just splash in a small amount. I know I need quite a bit to make this right. So I've been generous with my splashing in there, but you could just do it in very small increments and see how you get on. Bit more is needed. Can you see the still dry bits of flour in there? So a bit more water. And now, rather than using my hand as a claw, I'm squeezing the dough. So I'm really squeezing that water into the dough, making sure there's no dry bits in there. Now, the only time you would want a drier dough than this is if you're making a complex shape like a baguette or a cottage loaf. If I was doing a focaccia, I'd be happier with a wetter dough, as all I'm going to do with the focaccia is put it into a tray. I'm not going to shape it at all. But if I'm just making what I'm making here, a simple white loaf to shape either for a tin or as a bloomer or to place into a proving basket, this is the consistency I'm looking for. Okay, so if I get all the excess dough off my hands and I place it back onto my scale, 330 grams of water that has taken to get to that consistency. Okay, so I splashed in an additional 30 grams of water. That's just for your information. I never re-weigh because I always sort of have a feel. If it feels right, I'm happy with it. So that's what it looks like. It's lovely and soft. There's no dry bits. It's airing on the sticky side rather than the dry side. And that's what I'm looking for. Now, this is what's known as a shaggy dough. I've mixed it. There's no dry bits inside there. And what I'm going to do now is just let it rest. Okay. My preferred method of developing gluten in dough is to use the stretch and fold method, and you can find one of my videos showing you how to do the stretch and fold. But you could just knead it now, and there's another video also available that shows you how to knead your dough if you prefer that method. But what I like to do is let it rest, let it get on with developing gluten all by itself, which is it's very good at, and then I'll come in and do 3 rounds of stretch and fold over the next hour, with perhaps 10 minutes in between, or maybe 20 minutes or half an hour, depending on how my day's going. I'll come back to that dough when I'm ready to give it a stretch and fold and develop it, and then it'll rest and let ferment, and then I will shape it. Okay, so that's what you're looking for when you mix a bread dough, something that is that consistency. And I hope you found this helpful, and if you do, please hit the subscribe button to find out more about how to make bread the easy way.